as the old saying goes, let the chess.
But he's 36. Like, there's going to be a time when Hikaru's sitting in his pineapple shirt and he's not playing chess anymore, and he's just going to have to watch me win tournament after tournament. He's going to be too old to even compete. Like, my reign is going to last so long that he's going to be at the age of like just like he can't even walk anymore, and I'm still going to be winning.
Blabber, 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 blabber all day long on social media.
There's absolutely no love lost between these two guys, and they met once again in the Freestyle Friday in early May. We had Hans Niemann with the black pieces, Hikaru with white, and this is an absolute classic game. Let's check it out here. Hikaru kicking off. Freestyle chess, by the way, so we've already got the rectangle on the board, but f4 is his opening move. Getting some of his bits out. f6 in response, usually a very smelly move, but opens some pieces. Now Hikaru takes the center here, and Hans fights for it. This is online chess, don't forget. All the pieces jumbled up. Now we see the position closed. Apparently this is a cool AF, that's cool as Fabby move, because he likes this structure. Make the knight in the corner look very forlorn. Now we get this one kicking off, and apparently you should do the same with the white A pawn. But Hikaru explodes here with pawn c4, but it gives up a huge square. Hans spawns the seahorse, goes straight for it, knight to c3 po. By the way, may the 4th be with you. Who's your favourite Jedi out of these guys? Do let me know. And after knight d4, we now see Hikaru drop back, challenge the strong pony here. It's supported by the bishop, and we get this change in pawn structure, which favours Hans Niemann, because look at this. Pawn d3, and the bishop's really crying in this structure. Knight f7, what a square it now has, and after queen g3, bit of tickle, pawn covered, knight f2, we also see one of the problems with this guy. I mean, it's going to take a long time to maneuver anywhere good, and even then, what are the prospects? So a4 is now played, good space gain, bishop e2, this knight hits the promised land, and after knight g4, challenging. I like this move, you could take, but Hans drops back here. I mean, he's got slightly the more space and just the edge, you feel. Let's keep those pieces on the board. And now look at this. If you've had a drink, don't worry, we see it too. Castles kingside. Whoa, there it goes. Action replay, zooming across the board. Hans now whispers, do you even rook lift, bro? And he's actually preparing this outlandish pawn b5 push. But first, a3 from Hikaru. Okay, very difficult to know the right pawn structures. Low on time, pieces jumbled up. This guy develops. Now we see pawn h3, multi-purpose move. The queen develops, and the knight drops back, redeveloping onto the f3 square, and the rook slides all the way over, preparing to attack. So a nice response, anticipating queen h4. And although you'd love to still just push g6, sack a pawn, well, your rooks aren't connected, they're split. It makes it a bit more difficult to attack. So instead we get h6, good move, knight f3, and now you could play slow and steady here. Queen c5, pawn b6, king b7. Black's controlling the pawn breaks really, but we don't see that. We get pawn b5 for the high five. Andrea starts spinning the beats as the game hots up here, and the best way to go is actually taking, which does make a lot of sense, because if you let black take here, well, it messes up the structure. This could be weak, this could be running, that sort of thing, but not played. Let's backpedal. By the way, the reason I'm in the analysis board here is because of this horrible looking board. You know, it looks like someone just threw up all over it, so I don't like going in there like I normally would. But then there's no back cave analysis mode, so we're sticking with this one. Rook ad1 though, played by Hikaru, so he looks at the d4 pawn, which is weak, saying take, and I'll take back and attack this, but still taking, not a bad move. Queen c5 actually the best, but Hans plays this before Hikaru can do anything about it, but it's not actually so great. You can take here, not played, and it actually starts opening lines towards the black king. Let's run back though, we didn't see it. Rook a1 was selected instead. Hans should now close things with pawn b3, then he can turn his attention to attacking, slowly but surely, but instead he plays king a7, bad move because Hikaru can now go for the old switchback with queen f2. Suddenly, he's taken over the game. Pawn's attacked, and this is a critical variation. What if you defend with the queen twice? Well, then there's takes here, and this is a problem. Queen takes, pawn drops. If knight takes, pawn drops. You know, you're distracting one of the defenders of the pawn, and of course you have to take. You're in a fork here, so white's killing it. Therefore, we see this move of b3 played. It was difficult for Hans. He didn't have much at all. The center now does drop, and look at Hikaru's pawn avalanche suddenly. I mean, this is really brutal. The queen's even coming off the board, absolutely biting. I mean, it's almost as brutal as this tweet by Wesley So in response to Hans Niemann, who won the recent title Tuesday, early May. Ouch. Wesley So back on Twitter with a vengeance. We love to see it. Now, what was played here? Well, pawn d4, naturally, taking the entire center. You could take here, but then you're giving up an exchange. Not ideal. So the rook gives ground. c5, now far and away the best move, setting up the bathtub and stopping the black pawn breaks. Just very, very good move, but Hikaru misses it. He plays bishop d3, and Niemann doesn't need asking twice. He now plays the great c5 move, and you'd never want to do this. Positional suicide. I mean, look at that horrendous bishop. So it wasn't played. We see Hikaru re-enter the game with the cannon. Now takes is played, arguably premature. This bishop drops back, king b6, and Hikaru captures. He's got the pressure. The king covers the pawn. Now the rook's double stack. Again, the pawn's covered. Rook 1 d3. Going for the g pawn, as we're going to see. d6, the rook swings, and it's just covered in time. King f2, here comes Hikaru. Loves a little Bon Cloudy kind of king run here, but of course it's justified. We're into a kind of end game. Do we call it the end game, late middle game? Who knows? No one can really tell. Driven many chess players nuts. We now see the rook pressure on the pawn once more, and after this rook slides over, Hans is looking for the counterplay here. So here we go. The king covers the pawn, rook e3, and now we see Hikaru in just a minute start expanding with the pawn avalanche over on that king side. This rook lifts, and g4 for the score. Let's go, baby. Rook e5, and the king changes plans. Marches itself all the way over to the king side here, preparing to push the pawn, but this is where Hikaru is so good. Patient, just letting the clock burn. Now brings this rook back. Rook 8 to c7 played. This one doubles. Do you want my c pawn? Fine, I'll take your d pawn. Hans doesn't want it. Covers that backwards weak pawn there, and after rook c1 we now get this one drop, and here comes the break. It's g5. Vamos, going for the structure. Now we get takes, pawn recaptures, captures with check, the king marches in, and more shuffling with the rooks. Hans is completely paralyzed. Hikaru has got him in that boa constructor grip, squeezing him by the kahunas. Now we see this rook lift, and here Hikaru actually blinks and makes a mistake. You should play, say, bishop e2, just waiting, or swing the rook, slowly play it. But he plays rook d1, and he's actually just blundering a pawn, because you can get takes played by Hans Niemann. What to do? You've just lost the pawn, and you can't do this, and this, and this. You know, the king still covers the pawn, no good, just a drawn position. So we run it back here, bishop takes. In this position, Hikaru now goes rook g1, going for this pawn here, but he has squandered things to a draw if Hans Niemann finds bishop takes on d3. Now, why should it be played now? Well, after rook recaptures, you can then cover this pawn with king to f8. This is critical. Now, if the rooks double, like we see in the game, you can slide down here to attack this pawn. Sorry, wrong variation. Now you can actually defend with rook c7 rather. And because the king's not on f7, then you can support the defense of the pawn. Then you can go on the counter attack once you've defended. Let's run it back, because this didn't happen. No bishop takes. We saw king f7. And this is the key difference. Now you can never defend from the 7th rank. So after this, going in for the kill on two different pawns, takes, rook takes, There's no time to go back with the rook after rook c2 counterattack, saying you take me, I take you, but Hikaru doesn't want it. He does this, and like said, it's just indefensible. And the problem is, if you go to swap the prisoners, now you crash through, king goes, and you're in a world of pain after something like this. Let's say give a few checks first, this is more precise, then you swing over, and now you're threatening some nastiness. So we run back, rook dg3 was played by Hikaru, we see rook f2 check, not going for the pawn as mentioned, trying to make things weird, but after rook e3, or king e3 rather, this rook doubles, going for the counterplay on the second rank, now the rook crashes through with check, king e8, and the rook slides over, preparing to shut a checkmating trap. How do you escape it? We get the check, sure, but the king runs. If you'd have gone with this rook, king runs this way. So this was the game. King runs all the way in just a moment. First, the checkmate is blocked from afar through the x-ray. Rook h3 is played. You could have carried on with this one, but not played. If it was played, still the f-pawn's dangerous and the king. So instead we get this check, but it just simply runs in Hikaru's king. Woeful. Hans goes for this to stop the checkmating threat, but it's no good. Hikaru, the old guy he is at 37 years old, picks up the rook and slams it on a8, making Hans Niemann eat humble pie as he's about to take this rook once the king moves. That's all she wrote, and this is what he had to say at the end of the game.
As the old saying goes, the chess speaks for itself. Blabber, 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 blabber all day long on social media, but unable to perform when it actually matters on the board.
And if you want to see another incredible encounter between these two guys from the Speed Chess Championship 2024, then you've got to check out the video on screen. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.